And welcome back to Vic Acres Wonderland. It has been a busy international breaks for the Arsenal women. Several gooners in action and the opening matches of the UEFA qualifiers with the Women's World Cup 2027, with the Asia Cup, which is still ongoing, and the She Believes Cup. But as always, I am joined by Matt. Matt, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. It's been quite a nice weekend, actually. Scored my first goal of the season. Both Arsenal won, which makes it even more nicer. Although I got a nice little message from friends to say that basically this is the most boringest team ever, but I think that was out of anger more than anything else, to the way that the men won that game on Saturday night. But this is a women's show. Less about the men.
We are going to touch on that. I was there and I don't know what they're talking about. But anyhow, like, how many 16-year-olds do you see do that? You don't.
I think the emphasis is if you were to do this with the women's team, just think about bringing on a Leah Williamson at 16 years old and her basically changing the game. That's the sort of... obviously Leah Williamson plays different positions and things like that than 16-year-old male midfielder, but Leah originally stayed starting midfield. But it's that sort of...
But it's a bit like Michelle Adjaman coming on for England. Game changer.
Yes, even though she's a couple of years older than...
Yeah, no, but you know what I mean? She's still a young player, that's my point. Not quite 16, but you know what
it's that fearlessness, though, isn't it? It seems to be a lot of the academy graduates just... Well, academy players, they don't have that fear of this anymore. Like, you look at Michelle Adjaman against Belgium. Let's take 42 seconds it took her to score that goal. And it was a hell of a first goal, to be honest.
It's one way to announce yourself to the world, isn't it?
It was. And she continued to be a thorn in the European sides during the Euros. And whatever they're doing at Hale End, even though it's probably now not called Hale End anymore, it's called something else.
It is Hale End, yep.
But either way, whatever they're teaching them, the fact that they're trying to teach them to be less fearful and be fearless and have that freedom and creativity, just to be able to go about their own way, however whatever position they're going to be a long term, probably they're future proofing their long term effectiveness in the game, whether it's at Arsenal or whether it's post Arsenal, which will be interesting to see what happens with the crop that we have at the moment. I'm a bit annoyed actually with Everton at the moment, because no Layla Harbour getting minutes again, especially with Hayashi out at Asia Cup, as you've mentioned.
No, absolutely. Speaking of England, Arsenal were well represented as usual. I'm going to have one of those nights where I can't get my words out. Leah Williamson, Alessia Russo, and Lotte Wubben-Moy all involved with England. We've made a strong start to qualify and win both our opening games. And we are currently sitting joint top of the group A3 alongside Spain. Over in Group A2, Vic Palova and Daphne van Damselaar were called up for the Netherlands. The Dutch are sitting second in their group at the moment after drawing with Poland and beating the Republic of Ireland. Ireland, captained by Arsenal's Katie McCabe, are currently fourth after 2 narrow defeats in the group. Elsewhere, Stina Blackstenius is featured for Sweden. They picked up a win and a draw to stay near the top of Group A1, while Frida Marnham's Norway sit in second of Group A4 after a win and a loss. So pretty much a mixed bag of results at the moment for our European internationals. Matt, looking at these early results, which Arsenal player do you think has had the biggest impact for their national team so far in the qualifiers?
Well, I think it's important to first of all say well done to Lotte Wubben-Moy, because she actually managed to get minutes this time, and she actually did, as Lotte did last year when she won. No, it was the season before, because Mariona won Player of the Season last year. She did really well, and again, it shows that she is very consistent at this stage, and it's just a shame that unfortunately there's other players ahead of her, so that there's not that Lotte and Leah Williamson link up, that club link up that you'd like to see. I think I'll probably the other lioness you'll have to probably point out is Alessia Russo, because she scored about 4 goals over the 2 games. Albeit Georgia Stanway thought, anything you could do, I can do better.
Well, at the Ukraine game in Turkey, Alessia equalled Georgia Stanway's record, and Georgia Stanway went, "No, that's mine still." So, hey ho, those girls are going to be competing on that for a while, I reckon.
I think genuinely we have probably got the best, not in Europe, but in terms of, if you were to look over the last couple of years in terms of in the decade, let's look at decades. So in 2010s, we had Fran Kirby, Ellen White, Jodie Taylor. I'm trying to name Kelly Smith was also in the mix, but good attackers. But I think these are are a lot better. The fact that you've got Fran Kirby has now retired. Leslie Russo taken over from Ellen White, Aggie Beaver-Jones, who's done really well. Michelle Adjaman, obviously she's not in playing at the moment, but she is a really good one for the future. But I think we've got, for the next 4 years, we've got a really good group of attackers that could quite easily go and go past Ellen White's records. I don't know. It's 50. I'm going to get it completely wrong. 53 goals Ellen White has. I think Alessia Russo's not even in the top 5, but she's on that round 30, 35 sort of goal mark. So, but in terms of other players, I think it's important for players like Daphne van Domselaar to be getting minutes at the moment, because there is really important games coming up for the rest of the season,
especially in this next block. Elsewhere on the international watch, we've had Emily Fox over at the She Believes Cup. It's the 11th edition of the annual women's football tournament that was held in the States over the break. 4 teams took part. You had the US, Canada, Argentina and Colombia. Olivia Smith was meant to be out there, but unfortunately, due to a concussion protocol, she was withdrawn and she did stay at home. Tournament was really competitive. There were several tight matches. In the end, the US beat Canada 1-0, thanks to a goal to Ali Sentinel, putting them ahead for the final match day. In the final game, the US beat Colombia 1-0 with a goal from Chelsea's Alicia Thompson. This is the US's 8th title and Emma Hayes' first title with the US team. Are they going to kick on for next summer now, Matt?
To be honest, I when these tournaments come around, originally they were good, because it meant you could see how the teams are doing and where they are in terms of their progress. Now, the US won I believe it's the Gold Cup. They've now won the She Believes under Emma Hayes. If I'm honest, I know Emma Hayes is pushing for the World Cup. I genuinely believe that because she's going to have a younger squad, she's going to have an inexperienced squad. So a bit like OH Leuven in the Champions League against Arsenal, because there wasn't that balance of experience and youth. OH Leuven go get knocked out by Arsenal. I think that this time around, especially with games being so tight, as you've mentioned, it also shows that the US still aren't that who they think they are in terms of them chanting "We are number one." I think there's not really much of that fear, but I think at the same time, when the US do take on, say, for England or anything like that, it's not really much of a oh, we're up against one of the best teams in the world. There's almost, you could go player for player with who, it's almost similar for player to player if you were to name a 23 squad for both sides. Yeah, how far would they get? I think it would depend on the group stages where they would end up finishing. Actually, I'm pretty sure they would already automatically qualify if I remember the Gold Cup rules and regulations. I might be pushing
I
too
think that's
early.
a part of a qualification pathway.
Yes,
I think I'm not 100%
bit similar
sure.
with
I think you're on
yeah,
it's
similar
similar with the
Asia Cup.
Asian Cup, because the qualification for the Women's World Cup as well as the Summer Olympics are a part of this pathway as well.
Yeah.
Speaking of the Women's Asian Cup, it's 21st edition this year, and it's being held in Australia. It's coming up to the final days. It finishes on the 21st of March. There were 12 teams from across the Asian Football Confederation. Matches have been played in Sydney, Perth, and across the Gold Coast. Originally, there was 3 groups of 4 with the best teams advanced to the knockout stages. China are the current holders. Japan are there. Australia and South Korea are the top contenders. It does mean Steph Catley, Kyra Cooney-Cross, and Caitlin Ford are away a bit longer. It's kind of expected with the strength of the Australian women's football team at the moment. But what does that mean for Arsenal's bench, Matt?
Well, this is the good news, that we actually managed to see the bench that was available for this game on Sunday. It means that there are more minutes available to the likes of Lotte Philbin-Moy, Leia Cadena as well. It also means that midfield is going to be rejigged around. So Frida Marnham is going to mostly play probably as the attacking midfielder, and then Kim Little and Mariana Caldente is also going to be playing as that pivot, as we've seen all season. The only thing that's changed, Mariana Caldente, Frida Leonardson Marnham will be playing as the attacking midfielder. What else changes? Victoria Palova will get more minutes, which is important. If I was to pinpoint, you mentioned the block already, in a couple of weeks' time, 2 weeks' time, it's going to be the crunch match, really, and that's the first leg of the Champions League. Chelsea could quite easily end up having a depleted squad depending on what happens injury-wise. They've already got a squad. Natalie Bjorn came off in that cup final with an injury, so it does look like they have, instead of having those players back, they're going to be struggling defensively and relying on Lucy Bronze at right back.
Well, they didn't exactly struggle in the cup at the weekend.
This is when we talk about, when I talk about Man United and bringing in players like Leah Schur. Why is Leah Schur not playing to start with? It's things like that where you look at and go, you brought in these fantastic players, but you're not doing what you're meant to. For me, if I was to start from scratch and just look at Man United's squad list, there is a very good squad there, but there's players that you look at. Leah Schurler, Fredina Rolfo as well.
She's injured at the moment.
She was playing. I believe she was playing in that game.
Is she playing? Oh, that's good for my Champions League squad then. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, so it's 2 players like that, experience, very good at knowing how to win, either from their Barcelona days or their Bayern Munich days. And it's things like that where you go, right, they need to be in the team from minute 1, not minute 45, not minute 60, not minute 70, not 89th minute and last kick and hope. You need to be starting them because they are the next level. When you look at some of the players around them, so say Maya Letitia, nothing against Maya Letitia, she's not been in that sort of scenario before because she's come from Brighton. So it's trying to find players that know how to win and can do it more consistently. essentially Man United have been to 3 finals. 2 of them been against Chelsea in the FA Cup and now the League Cup, and they've lost both of them. So, and the problem is Chelsea were there for the taking. They just needed someone to take those chances.
Thing is, Man United seem to have found their confidence against Arsenal instead of us kind of beating them all the time. Do you think? I know we're going off topic and we're nowhere near going near an Arsenal right now, but do you think Man United needs to kind of take that attitude and be a bit more fearless against Chelsea? Because you've got Mark Skinner coming out saying their goals were rubbish. I mean, it's kind of tricky, especially after what happened in our semi-final against them.
Well, this is the thing, is that you can't turn up for just 2 games of the season. So Lottie's laughing at the moment, but this is what I mean.
Don't grasp me up to the audio listeners.
No, but just to understand where it's kind of where so people understand, is that if you look at Arsenal Manchester United versus Chelsea, Manchester United roll over. You look at the derby days against Manchester City. What usually happens? Man City usually bombard Man United. Man United crumble under the pressure because they can't cope with a Vivian Miedema, a Bunny Shaw, a Fagino, a Lauren Hemp.
But a lot of teams can't cope. We've managed it this season, but a lot of teams can't cope with that level of talent.
It's because, I know this is going to sound, again, Arsenal, if you go like for like, a 25-player list squad, Arsenal and City have a like-for-like squad, which is bizarre to think about. But if you were to think about it, if you were to go through Chelsea, Arsenal and City, all 3 of them have a like-for-like squad. You could pick one player out and go. So Aaron Cuthbert for Chelsea, who's a similar player. Katie McKay for Arsenal, who'll be a similar player. I would probably say for Man City, I'd probably get some load of abuse for this, but I'll probably say Yuri Hasegawa because she is defensively that player.
Okay.
But someone might say someone else.
Would you not? Well, I'd probably, dare I say it, what about Kirsten Kasper? Would she fit that profile, do you think?
When I talk about those sort of players, it's like the tough tackler of the team, the player that will get.
No, she does do that. I've watched her enough to know that.
So there we go. Okay, then Kirsten Kasper. There you go. So this is what I mean. Is if you go player for player, there's someone there that you could say, okay. Man United don't have that.
I do get where you're coming with Hasegawa though. So like because you've mentioned Katie, I think of Kirsten Kasper because she's sort of the same sort of profile. So I get where you're coming from completely. We've actually gone a bit off subject. Let's get back to where we should be. Arsenal ultimately came through the tie against LCL, but the game still gave us plenty to talk about, from squad rotation to individual performances and what it means for Arsenal heading into the final stretch of the season. It also gave opportunities for several players to step up and fill in the gaps because of the Australian spine that is missing, and show their quality in the league. We haven't let a goal in so far this season, this part of the season, since 2026. Yeah, which is absolutely beautiful, especially if it's because it's the WSL. Most people argue, oh, you have let goals in. Not in the WSL, we haven't. So I do want to start off with the overall performance. What were your main takeaways from Arsenal's display against LCL?
Main takeaways was, if you actually look at our stats in the WSL, the top goal scorers actually are Stina Blackstenius and Olivia Smith on 6. So the main takeaway is someone needs to be feeding Alessia Russo again and get her those goals and bump her up. I know we talk about her being a really talented striker a lot of the time, but sometimes she needs that boost. And against an LCL side like this, where they're in the in the mix, shall we say, they're not quite relegation fodder as I was expected this season.
They're mid-table. They're mid-table, which is kind of expected with the amount of players they brought in and the levels of experience they've brought in.
I was not expecting them to be that high up, to be honest. I was expecting them to be lower down because it's a whole new squad that they brought in. Now, if you do that in the men's game, I know this is going men's game, but just I know it's not relative, but QPR did the same thing a couple of nearly 10 years ago, maybe even longer than that. And essentially what happened was they were lucky. They got relegated on something like 20 odd points.
Yeah.
That's what I was sort of thinking. Yes, the gelling of the players.
If you kind of look across this squad, they've sort of all crossed paths, or they've played together at some point. You've got the girls from Lyon, you've got the girls from PSG. I think Grace Giora has played in a couple of French teams. Correct me if I'm wrong. Delphine's played for a couple of French teams, so they have all interacted and played with each other. So it's made it a bit more easier for them to sort of connect. But I think the only player from the championship squad I think that did survive was Goodwin, the striker.
Yeah, besides Freya Godfrey and Taya Goldie. Yes.
Yeah, they're the only surviving players from the championship, which is really interesting. I'm like, I don't know if you caught it on the comms, Matt, but they were talking about how one of the commentators had interviewed Izzy Goodwin. I am going to call her Izzy because that's what she likes to be called, apparently. They were talking about what shock the pace change from the championship to the WSL is. And I thought that was quite interesting to actually hear it, because you always suspect it when you're observing from our point of view, but from a player's point of view, you just don't know, if that makes sense. I mean, we know the French leagues and the Spanish leagues are two different separate paces anyway, but it also applies to the leagues below.
Yeah, this is a common thread. I mean, if you go even grassroots, so where I play, I'm playing at what is considered the championship level. If I was to go to go and see the Premier League level, it's a lot more higher paced, and it is almost like watching a WSL game, probably even a Premier League game, because it is literally 1, 2, 3 touch football, and some people can't cope. I think that might have been in their thoughts when they did get promoted, is that some of this squad is going to have to go to make sure that because they will not be able to cope. At the time, it did look risky, but it looks like the payments made off. To be fair, they brought in fantastic international players, especially the Arsenal one, which is Danny van de Donk, who I have a lot of affinity for, and I wish she wasn't injured in that game again in the Emirates, because I would have loved to have seen her play again. Though I do have that fond memory of the Euros against Portugal, where she just absolutely smashed it into the top corner. But yeah, I think that's the other thing, is that she's going to bring a lot of these sort of players that you see, some of these older players, when they go to other teams, they're going to create new memories for a lot of different reasons, and they'll start to become popular for one reason or another.
Oh no, definitely. So we lined up with Aneka Borba in goal, Lotte Wibber-Moy, Leah Williamson, Emily Fox. In the middle of the park, we had Kim Little, Frida Marnham, Katie McCabe, Alessia Russo, Chloe Kelly, and Olivia Smith, as well as Mariona. I do apologise. Google have done my lineups wrong. So that's starting 11. Do you think Arsenal struck the right balance between giving players minutes and maintaining a strong lineup? I mean, Chloe Kelly and Olivia Smith, that's switching. I could watch that all day long on the wings.
This is the balance that I love. The problem, again, I'll go back to let's talk about the Australian winger just for a second, because there is that imbalance when she does play, because you do see it when she switches over to the right, she can't do anything, and everything goes to the left, and it becomes very predictable. So say for the Arsenal game against Chelsea, obviously she's not going to be there, but if in that second leg there's a potential that that would happen, if for whatever reason, whoever, if it's Chloe Kelly, if it's Olivia Smith, whoever's on that other side, if they can't switch between the two and be on it, then it gives, say she switched and is up against Lucy Bronze and she can't seem to get past Lucy Bronze, you're better off taking her off because she's just not effective. And if she's not effective, you're basically playing with the player down. But this is what I love to see. It's one of the reasons why people love having Beth Mead, because you see that switch and all of a sudden Beth Mead's doing fantastic on both wings. And then all of a sudden you see him switch back and it was like, oh, when did they switch back? It's great because it confuses the defence as well. They think they're marking one player and then 2 minutes later, oh no, you're marking this player. And then and then they swap back and it's just almost like the birds are going round because they're so confused.
No, I get that. In terms of attacking performance, I do want to talk about Olivia Smith's goal and LCL's claim for a foul by Alessia. So balls come in, Alessia's back past it to Chloe Kelly, and then Olivia Smith's chipped it over the keeper. Just before Olivia Smith gets the ball, Alessia crashes in to, I can't remember who it is.
On the I think it might have been Jana Fernandez.
Jana might have been. She crashes into her and they're calling for the foul. Is that a foul?
So this is chaos football at its best. Essentially it's a goalmouth scramble, and with goalmouth scramble there's bodies flying everywhere. People are falling over each other to try and either stop the ball from going in the net, or they're trying to put the ball in the back of the net. So the bodies are flying everywhere. In that sort of game, in that sort of scenario, the referee could have quite easily pulled anything up, but the referee lets it flow because there's a probability, or probably say 90% of the time, getting it wrong. So that's where you ask for the linesman. She might have asked the linesman, do you think that was a foul? And the linesman says, no, I don't think there was anything wrong with that.
Yeah.
Or lineswomen, line person.
I think there was a man and a woman this weekend. I'm not sure which ends, but one of them.
Okay.
Yeah.
So in short, the lino, whoever it may be, may have said, no, I don't think there was a foul. And that would then be like, not a problem. And I think that's one of the good things about this league. If there is an issue or they think that something isn't, they've just got to carry it on. If they I lost my trail of thought there. I was going to say,
sorry, I was agreeing with you. I'm so sorry. The thing is, with this referee, she also refereed the Chelsea game at the Emirates. So I looked at her and I thought, oh, here we go again. But she actually had a decent performance this time round. But for me, I don't think that was a foul at all. I think it was just like a body clash. There was no shoving it. Alessia has her hands out, but she's not pushing someone. She's trying to stop at the same time.
To be fair, the amount of times that Alessia has said in interviews that she is very clumsy, I don't know if you've heard this one.
No, that kind of makes sense. When you look at some of, she's like great performances. She does have those clumsy moments on the pitch, and you're thinking, what are you doing? I mean, Stina's clumsy as well. We know Stina's clumsy. We can point that out a mile away. But at least Alexia's aware that she's clumsy, and that's something you can work on. I do want to kind of talk about that second goal as well. Stina Blackstenius, she's back with a bang. I mean, there's just so much space around her. Defensively, I don't know what LCL were doing, because Taya Goldie almost gets there, and you see her reaction. I'm not going to say the word she said because I lip read what she said. She looked at the ball go in the net and she smacked the pitch, and she said some very adulterated words. Yeah. And then she was immediately pulled off after that. But defensive wise on that goal, could LCL have done better, do you think?
I think they will go back and they'll analyse it and realise that, yes, they could have done a lot better. The other thing I would probably say is Stina doing Stina things, if you know what I mean.
I know what you mean.
She just whenever it's weird. Whenever she's most likely to score, she doesn't score. But if she give her a little bit of time, she's able to refocus and put that ball in the back of the net.
I feel like if you give her like 30 minutes, she's scoring. Any less than that, she's not going to make an impact on the game for me.
No, I think it's interesting as well, because if you were to look at Arsenal's potential strike force next season, let's say Stina does stay, the contract situation,
That would make me very happy.
Let's just say we're not too sure. It might be that she's
she's up for renewal. Let's just say that.
Yeah, it might be in that she's got an additional year we don't know about. But you've got Alessia Russo, who's the starter. You've got Stina Blackstenius. By the time that September rolls around for the new season, there's potentially Michelle Adjaman on top of that, and also Rosa Kafaji can also play there. So that's 4 options that Arsenal would have. Now, if I was to pick a player that would probably most likely be on the bench, 2 of those might be on the bench. Another one of them would potentially go. At this moment in time, Alessia is starting. I would then probably say Michelle would probably be on the bench along with Stina, because Michelle will play as the wing. Depending on how the rest of Rosa's loan goes at Brighton, as well as on top of what else happens in the transfer window. She's a bit of a question mark. You don't know what's going to happen.
I think she's settled quite well with Brighton. She looks good at Brighton. She looks happy. So it might be a potential move for her, maybe. She injects that bit of speed into them, and she's not afraid to take a shot outside the box. Her first goal for Brighton was an absolute worldie.
My problem is I always talk about the Mariona Caldente. I prefer her playing as the attacking midfielder. If she's playing the attacking midfielder, that's great. But then that means someone needs to be protecting the back alongside Kim. If there is a space next season, potentially with one certain lioness coming through, potentially touching wood, because I would love to see her play in the red kit. I think she would do really well in that position, but then it's who partners alongside her.
Yeah, no, that's completely agreed. I mean, we'll still sort of stay in the sort of the performance and looking at the attacking. Who do you think was pulling the strings through that game? Because towards the end, London City Lionesses started getting physical, started running around on the floor. I mean, then we brought the enforcer in, which was Vic Pullover, and it just got even messier.
But Vic loves to actually be that physical player, and
we know. We saw what she did to Leah Voltic. We know.
Love her to bits.
We do.
She's such a. She puts it all on the line. She loves the club. She wants to give her heart and soul for the club, and she is a really good player. And unfortunately, it's just times like this where perhaps it was the wrong sub to make. Had their mate realistically in that game, if you have a full squad, you'd probably bring Kyra on instead of Vic, or maybe you bring Vic on for Frida and have Mariona playing further up, and Vic and Kim would be the midfield pivots. But as to who was making Arsenal tick for a long time, it was probably the usual suspects, actually. Mariona and Kim Little. Frida.
I did think Frida did really well against LCL. I mean, she was everywhere. She wasn't her usual quiet self, if that makes sense. She was involved. She was in the centre of the chaos.
I do wonder if someone's had a word with her and say, we can't keep doing this. We need to see 2021, 22 of Frida, where we had that crisis, and she just absolutely
and she stepped up to the plate.
Yeah.
She was my favourite player that season. She was absolutely sensational. But it's also, and then that's where my theory of you get Frida on and Stina scoring, and it's nice to see my theory is wrong at the moment, if you know what I mean. Because there used to be a point where Stina wasn't scoring unless Frida was on the pitch.
Yeah.
And then once Stina got one, Frida would be doing, okay, I can do one too, bestie, sort of thing.
But that's the good part of it, is the fact that they obviously have worked on Stina being involved with other players so that they've got this tight knit.
Not you too.
The tight knit group that can just sit back and they almost like play the ball to me and I'll get on the end of it.
Yeah.
And that's the dream of any striker, is to have that dynamic duo, or that sort of link with any sort of teammate. And I think one thing goes back to, I know it sounds really weird, but again, taking the men's game, when Thierry Henry came to the club to begin with, Wenger he was saying to Wenger, so and so's not passing to me. So and so's not passing to me. So he turned around and said, if you go back and look at the footage, look at their runs and things like that. It's things like that that perhaps the analysts have done, and they're finally getting the rewards from it, which is great to see.
No, absolutely. I do think London City do deserve a bit of credit. I've really enjoyed watching. Is it Francie? Sani Francie. I thought she was great. Freya Godfrey, we know what's on the plate with her.
She nearly scored as well.
I know. She nearly scored, which was really frustrating. I mean, Leah and Lotta had full control of that back line, but in that moment, is there anything that Freya could have done to break our clean sheet run in the WSL?
I would have said, apart from not hitting it sky and over, just a simple tap and that's in. But I think you're right, we have to praise London City Lionesses. Like, this season, they have really surprised everyone with how they performed. And to be honest, if you were to talk to the fans, if you're going to lose 2-0 today, I think they would have taken it. They know that they're not quite there just yet. Maybe next season.
They're having a good season. That's regardless. I mean, poor old Bristol City, was it last season they went down? Yeah, last season. They had a terrible season when they came up.
Yeah.
I mean, to come up and to this level and to this pace and manage to stay where you are is absolutely great, especially when you're throwing a new team together. We even caught glimpses of Delphine Cascarino, which I'm really annoyed about. I wish I kind of went to the game for that, because she's one of these players that I will go to watch. Put it that way. And when it's against my club, it's a win-win. She got her first few minutes. She was fairly quiet. I mean, even Grace Gioro was fairly quiet. Would you say, Matt? What have you made of, like, just from watching her in the last 90 minutes, what have you made of her kind of settling in?
Well, she sort of did see it in the first game of the season. She was very quiet. You've sort of nailed it a bit on the head, really, that London City Lionesses are basically going to be financially up there with the rest of the Arsenals, Chelsea's, Cities, not quite Manchester United, because Manchester United don't seem to care about their women's side, no matter how many cup finals. Not their fault. It's their owners' fault to begin with. I'm not trying to bash them, by the way. This is just my opinions, and I'm sure it's other opinions that fans are echoing as well. The fact that actually in the past 4 years, 3 cup finals is actually a good return, considering how little investment they've gotten. But in terms of Grace Guerrero, I'm expecting more. But usually when a new signing comes in, unless they've been in the league, you get a year's adjustment. So maybe it might take a year's adjustment for Guerrero to go on and prove that she is that dynamic player that she is for France and that she has been in the past for Paris Saint-Germain. So there's definitely things that I think what also helps is she's got a player like Diane van der Donk, again, player with previous experience in WSL, as well as other players as well that have been there, done that more frequently. Farrah Godfrey, Taylor Goldie as well. I'm trying to name other players. I'm sure there are other players as well that I'm going to forget at the top of my head. But overall, I think next season we'll probably see the real Grace Guerrero, and we'll see London City Lionesses probably be in or around about the Champions League spots next season.
Oh, we'll see. We'll see. It's like, I know it's the standard top three: Arsenal, Chelsea, City, and now Man United are in the mix. But I think, as I said, if people want to invest like LCL have done and they're attached to a big club, I don't see why not. You can't compete.
Newcastle have done really well with that in that terms, but they've done it the different way. They've done it where they're trying to harness that local talent. It's similar to what Southampton did to begin with. Get the local talent, get up the leagues with a little bit more investment, and then try and get into those sort of top spots. At this moment in time, it's Charlton, Birmingham, and I believe it's Bristol City at the moment in that playoff spot. So it looks like Newcastle are going to miss out this time, but they are looking.
There's always next season. It sounds like they're going in the right direction, if that makes sense.
Yes.
So thing is, there's now new kind of layout allows next season to happen. The thing is, if you've got a good foundation base like they have now, it's something to build on, and that's always positive, even if you don't get to where you're going. Then
it's one of the reasons why I quite like the league phase of the. I know you said Champions League phase of the League Cup, because it means Championship sides get to play WSL sides, then they can see what the gap is. Too many times you go back over the last couple of seasons when the top let's take when Liverpool were first in the Championship against Arsenal in the FA Cup. Arsenal go and beat Liverpool 5-1 in the end. I was at that game. So I got to witness. I did get to witness a Casey McCabe worldie as well.
Wasn't that the game that Leah Voltu scored in as well?
No, that was further down the line.
Okay, sorry, I'm thinking of the pink kits.
Yeah, this was sorry. This was the yellow kits.
Oh, this season. Yeah. Okay, cool. No worries. I didn't go back far enough. Right.
Yeah, so I'm trying to run it. So then Palace, and then you have a team like Palace that also came up last season, went back down last season as well. They weren't really able to compete with the WSL sides, and although they brought in some talented players in Casey Stengel, for example,
there's some Chelsea loanies as well.
That's the other thing, is that they were reliant on loanees to help them bridge the gap, and that's always an issue when you have 3 or 4 loanees.
Yeah,
and you're not able to get this team together because because they know at the end of the season they're off again. So there's no chance that there might be a chance they're not going to come back.
Absolutely. I am going to be paying and track you back to the Arsenal game. We went off a tangent.
Yes, I know.
What did you make of Renee's Arsenal? Her setup for it, tactically. We knew LCL were going to be physical. We saw that in the game. Was how Renee played what you expected?
I think it's just expected now. Play a 4-2, 4-2-1-3 or 4 essentially a 4-5-1 in different variations. But what is the common denominator is that is usually a hybrid formation.
Yeah.
Essentially, you have the 2 pivot. in the midfield, you'll have your usual back four, then the two pivots, the attacking midfielder, and the two wingers and the striker. So it's just the usual now, and then that will change into a 4-3-3 probably when attacking, that, and it goes back into a 4-2-3-1 when defending. It's just, again, it's not unpredictable. It's not unpredictable, but it's the way some of the players play that makes Arsenal unpredictable. The fact, like as you mentioned earlier, Olivia Smith, Chloe Kelly swapping wings every 5 minutes.
Yeah, no, well, they swap wings without you even noticing unless you're actually tracking them. And we spoke about player opportunities earlier, so I'm not really gonna go into it. But while Kyra's away, do you think there's more opportunity for Vic to start playing a bit more? As a sub, because you're not gonna not start Mariona or Kim.
Unfortunately, well, the other option is playing Vic as the attacking midfielder ahead of Frida Marnham at the moment, or Frida Marnham playing as the other pivot and Mariona playing as the attacking midfielder. But unfortunately, Rene likes how things as they are, so that's never going to change. And with that, Vic is stuck. I think what would happen is if it was a game where she felt that certain attributes were needed, the more physical game, I would expect a Victoria Pelova to start over a Frida Marnham, because Frida Marnham, this was a good game for her. She was able to build up on her confidence, and then you look at this Saturday's game against West Ham, who's most likely to start, Frida Marnham or Victoria Pelova? Frida Marnham, because she's starting to get into good form now. Nothing against Victoria Pelova, it's just how it goes.
Yeah, in terms of momentum for like the business end of the season, because we are coming to the end of the season, it's now March, so I like to call this the business end of business. I know we've got West Ham next in the WSL, followed by Brighton in the Chelsea in the Champions League, Brighton in the FA Cup. I mean, what does this game mean for our WSL in terms of momentum and confidence?
Well, to put this into perspective, we're 2 games are down over everyone else. Obviously, City and Chelsea play. Man United and Chelsea have the game in play on Wednesday night to make up for that game week. So for me, Arsenal have got potentially a chance to get that extra 6 points. That extra 6 points means putting pressure on City. Considering what happened to City, they drew to Aston Villa 0-0.
That was a shocker. I wasn't expecting that.
It means potentially that there's a chance that this title race might not be all City come the end of the season. If City do continue to drop the odd point, it becomes this might happen. There's a potential here. You've got to make sure that you get those 3 points now. And you've seen it with the men. The men are getting the points and they're on top of the league, and potentially maybe by the end of the season, you never know.
It has potential, but if I am going to dip in my toe into this conversation, if City get a perfect score to the end of the season, they still beat Arsenal by 3 points.
Yes.
So it's mathematically looking at it. Performance-wise, might say something else, but I get where you're coming from. It can still spice everything up.
Yeah, I think the good thing is over the last couple of years, we've never had a title race. We've had a title race to speak of, bar last year where Chelsea went unbeaten and won the league. Man City this year have run away with it, but all of a sudden, creeps at one performance like that.
Yeah, the thing is, they can run away with it when there's hardly any competitions, and now all 4 competitions are in play.
Yeah.
So it's see how we go from here, really, I think. I think that's everything for tonight. If you want to follow the podcast, you can look us up on VAW Pod on Instagram, Twitter, and Blue Sky. You can find me at Lottie_AWC on Twitter. And you can find Matt on
at MassLR28 on all the good platforms.
That's all from us tonight. It is Monday night at the time of recording. We will be back next week after the West Ham game. For now, come on, you Gunners.